Okay. Well, hello. My name is Linda Vickers, and I have with me Joy Farrow. Joy is with Sanctioned Love Ministries, and we have a mutual friend, Jody Faith, who introduced us when she invited Joy to join the line or the group online here. So it's been really fun to get to know you, Joy. We seem to have a lot in common, and that's exciting.
Yes.
I'm not sure where you live. That's never come up in conversation.
I live in Vancouver, Washington, and right over the bridge from Portland, Oregon. So I'm Southern Washington and right by Northern Oregon.
Okay. I love how Zoom and online has connected the world, and it's like there's people all over the place, so it's just fun. It's like everyone has an accent now.
Yes, they
It's like,
do.
okay, is it south or north? So that's just fun. So now you have a miraculous story, and I'm just excited to hear it. And I know that everyone who's listening will certainly be inspired by your story. So if you can take us back to when you were a kid and just share what happened.
So I was raised in Hawaii and Oahu, and very beautiful place to be raised. But what came with it, because of the humidity and the everything's always in bloom there, I had severe asthma. So from the time I was 3, and I still have asthma, but so much on a better, God is always healing, right? But so mine was acute asthma where I was in the hospital all the time. Just like they would even save me a bed because they knew I was going to be going through the doors. It was a constant battle. And all through my life, even when I was born, I was a preemie. So, it was life or death, when I was born, and life and death through, all of our lives, right?
So did you grow up in a Christian home?
I grew up in a Portuguese Catholic home.
Okay.
So in that I met Jesus when I was 5. That's another story where he came to, I was in the hospital, and, I go to catechisms with my aunts and everything, but I always saw Jesus on the cross. And it was so amazing because God always kept me like this way with Jesus, because Catholic, I love my Catholic family and all that, but, they get into the saints and all that, but Jesus is always in the forefront of me. And I was 5 years old in the hospital, and my lung had collapsed. And it was the first time that I, as a little girl, Joy, really prayed. And I said, Jesus, help me. As a little 5-year-old, I said, Jesus, help me. And he appeared at the foot of my bed.
Wow.
And I couldn't see his face full on, but there was like joy, peace, love, just everything coming out of him. And he touched my feet and said, you're going to be okay. And right after that, I felt myself breathing. They came to do, because they were going to do a procedure because my lung had collapsed. Well, they came back and they saw that I was breathing. They saw, something was different, and they looked, they did their tests and stuff. God had inflated my lung.
Oh, wow.
And they go, we don't understand this. This is a miracle. And I go, yeah, Jesus did it. Because I was just telling everyone, Jesus came to my bed, and because he did. And so, I've had miraculous things with him. And then, so I was in and out of the hospital, really fighting asthma. And at 10 years old, this happened to me, that at 5, at 10 years old, I had, it was when Apollo went to the moon. It was July 21st or 20th, 1969. And I was 10 years old, and it was my sister's birthday on the 21st, the next day. And I didn't want to tell my mom that I was in acute asthma because I wanted to be a part of the birthday party.
Oh,
I didn't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah, because when you were going in and out of the hospital all the time, you'd be missing stuff.
And I was missing stuff. There was just a lot of lonely times, and a lot of trauma came from that and stuff being, but Jesus was always there. And
you're still in Hawaii at this point?
Yes, we're still in Hawaii at that point. And so I kept going to my mom's purse because, I had, my medication was in her purse, and it was albuterol. It was the inhaler.
The puffer.
And yeah, so I kept going to her purse, and I kept taking the inhaler, and because I didn't want to go to the hospital. And it was a busy day. My aunt was staying with us because they were moving to California on that Sunday. So she was there. It was my mom's sister. And then I remember that day my dad was home, and my mom had gone to the laundromat because we didn't have a washer and dryer. This is in the 60s, and, just 5 kids, and she had to go to the laundromat,
Right.
And well, I was starting to decline. And what had happened was I was ODing on my albuterol, which was causing, I went into cardiac arrest.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I remember walking to, my aunt saw me, and she saw that I was like turning blue, and I said, I have to go to the bathroom. I just felt like I needed to go to the bathroom. My dad was in the shower, and she's pounding there, something's wrong with Joy. And he opens the door, and I rush past him to sit on the toilet. He's putting towels on him, and he's like, what's going on? And I collapsed in the toilet, and I was dead on the toilet, went into full-blown cardiac arrest.
Oh my gosh.
And so he's getting dressed. I mean, he just got out of the shower. This is my aunt's eyewitness. He scoops me up, and I'm dead. I'm dead in his arms, and throws me in the car and drives to the hospital. And the hospital's probably about 4 miles away, 5 miles, 4 or 5 miles away. He gets like probably a mile from the hospital, and his car dies on him.
Oh, you're kidding.
And so he had to run with me
Aww.
to the hospital with me in his arms, and just ran. He just, ran down to the hospital.
I can't imagine the panic of a parent.
Yeah. And,
no.
he said he felt like he had wings, because of adrenaline, just like I think he probably got me there pretty quick. Well, in the meantime, my aunt had got a hold of my mom at the laundromat. She was already there before we got there because of what happened, with the car. So I'm totally dead. And so they take me in and put me on the table. And then I remember like seeing my body. I was seeing my body on this table, and I looked, and I saw my parents huddled together crying, like holding each other crying. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I saw them pull the drape, so my parents weren't watching what was happening. So it must have been as soon as I got on that table that I saw my body. And then I looked at them, and I'm going, why are they crying? I mean, I'm seeing this. It's like, don't be sad. And then looked to them, and then I looked in another direction, and I saw Portuguese family that had already died. I didn't know them really good, but and they were talking to me, and God later he said, didn't I say that there's a cloud of witnesses
Yes.
cheering you on?
Yes.
And they were like cheering me on, like talking to me in Portuguese. I was totally understanding, and I don't know Portuguese, but
Wow.
they were just like, God loves you, and like just cheering me on, right? And loving me.
Wow.
And because I always wondered, well, how does that fit, God? I didn't really even know them. He goes, because there's a cloud of witnesses cheering you on. And
Wow.
so I was going up, here Apollo, were doing their thing, and I was going to heaven. And so I felt, I was getting pulled up, and
could you feel that sensation?
Yeah, I could feel the sensation, like I was going up, and I was seeing my body, and I was seeing them work on my body, like trying to intubate me, IVs, everything. They were working on my body, and I was going, and I was seeing the faces, everything. And so I was going up to heaven, and all of a sudden, this huge angel, I mean, like 15 feet, huge.
Wow.
Angel stops me and says, you need to go back. It's not your time yet. God has more for you to do. And then all of a sudden, I saw this vibrant, I can't even describe it. It was so much like sound and frequency and moving light. It was just shaking, right? And it just went right into me, and I knew it was Jesus. Like I could feel it was resurrection power went into me. Like it was like if you got hit by lightning, or I mean, it was life itself. Who is Jesus? It was resurrection power. It was the power of God when he spoke into the universe,
Yeah, let there be life.
Everything of life. It was resurrection power. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is the same power that's in us. And so all of a sudden I sat up on the table, and I was pulling things out, and I looked at the nurse, and I go, why were you trying to put that in my throat? And she turned white, because it's like, how did she know I was the one? She was, because I was completely dead.
Oh yes.
And so they documented everything, because I was dead for over an hour.
Over an hour?
Over an hour, I was dead. And that's,
oh my gosh,
and I
that's
still
unheard
have, my brain cells, I still have, but yeah, it was over an hour that I was dead, and I came back to life. And it's the resurrection power of Jesus. And it's because he has a plan and a purpose.
Yes.
And he said, and the angel said, it's not your time yet. You need to go back, because God has more for you to do.
So did the medical staff, did they like do a whole bunch of tests? And
yeah, I was perfectly fine. Like I sat up on the table, my asthma, I mean, I still had problems with the asthma, but it was gone. I was not in an acute state. I was not being rushed to ICU. I went into a regular room, totally like I am now. Just,
wow.
No wheezing, nothing. And just saying, telling about my experience. I saw the angel, and I, just, and it was like phenomenal, because my parents knew that I had been dead. they knew I had been dead for over an hour with the timeline of my dad from the bathroom to.
So were your parents still like at the hospital bed with you, or were
They
they,
were
you know,
in the in the waiting room, right? And in the 60s, everything was so confined together, like in hospitals and stuff. So there was like chairs right in the emergency room that they were sitting on, but they were like right behind the curtain.
okay.
So they didn't see them working on me, but they heard me and heard them working on me. And then when they heard me, it was like, oh my God, she's alive. Because they, we're getting reports, we're going to try to save her, but, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm surprised, honestly, I'm surprised that they would keep trying after an hour.
Yeah, well, it's because of the timeline to get there. And they did. And what happened was the same time that the resurrection power is their last ditch thing was they shot epinephrine right into my heart. At that same, and God, he uses everything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, they saw the correlation. I mean, it was the epinephrine that kickstarted my heart, but it was actually Jesus who kickstarted my heart.
And I'm sure they didn't expect it to work after an hour.
No.
Wow.
They kept, and I've worked in a hospital. When it comes to a child, they don't want to give up. I've been, I was a phlebotomist and lived in Arizona. There was a lot of drownings, babies falling into pools and stuff. And they would work on them for over an hour, just trying, and that's our hearts like, no, not a child.
Yeah.
And so thank God that they, continued. I mean, half of that time was taken because of the events. I mean,
getting you there,
getting me there, and then getting me on the table, hook me up, so they worked. Yeah. So I'm alive today.
That's incredible. That's an incredible story, Joy. Oh my gosh. That's
yes.
incredible.
And I believe, Linda, when God says, that he has given us the power and authority to cast out demons, to heal the sick, to raise people from the dead, these are the days that we're going to walk in his authority and his resurrection power. And, we were talking earlier about just the signs of the times, and people are losing hope, and with everything that's going on in the world. And like you were saying, that we need to be in that stand, that we know the authority of Jesus. We walk with resurrection power. We walk in that authority because people are going to be raised from the dead. People are going to be healed because of what Jesus did for us on the cross.
Yeah.
And he was resurrected from the dead. He was the first fruit of the resurrection.
Yeah. And even when we think of resurrection life, we think of the dead coming to life, which is an extreme example like you just shared, but resurrection can also be resurrecting ideas that are dead.
Yes.
And just like bringing our ideas back to life, and bringing our hope back to life.
Yes.
And bringing our dreams and our thoughts and our lives back to life. Where we've got ourselves trapped, or where we feel like there's no hope left. He is hope.
Yes, he is hope. I mean, he's a definition of hope. He is
hope.
Living hope. He is hope.
So with him, all things will be with him resurrected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that just something to shout about? And that's he he gives us life and life more abundantly, not only in our physical body, but in our spirit, soul, and mind. You
Yeah.
know, when hope is taken away, he is hope, like you said. And he is life also. He's the way, the truth, and life. He's everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking about just, we're entering into, Canada's already had our Thanksgiving, but America is just heading into Thanksgiving next week. And we're heading into Christmas season, and that's a season of hope.
Yes, it is.
And we need to really, the season of what's going on in the world right now, we need to be focused on hope and just life, that he's given us life in abundance, and everything can be resurrected in and through him.
Yes.
In this season and next. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're in the US, we're entering the Thanksgiving season, and just is it next week? Oh yeah, it's next week. And God can do everything with a thankful heart.
Yeah, all things are possible.
He can do, he wants to give us a heart of thanksgiving. And when we move in a heart of thanksgiving for all that he's done, all that he is, he can move in so much in us in such a powerful way. And then we're going into the Christmas season, and the whole point of my testimony, and what I'd love for people to come away with, is that he defines us and he saves us.
Yeah.
And he gives us abundant life. And it's just through him. It's through him only. And so I want to give people hope out there that you have a Jesus that is not a nebulous Jesus. He is your God, and he loves you with an everlasting, beautiful love. And he just wants to know you, and he wants you to know him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the Christmas story, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He came to bring us life.
Yes, he did. He was, he's God, and he took on humanity. He left his glory and he put on humanity so he could, he related to who we were. He was fully God and fully man. And he came to relate with his creation, and to know that I'm going to bear all your suffering. If you read Isaiah 53, it's the great exchange.
Yes,
it is such a beautiful exchange.
Yeah. Now there was a scripture you wanted to share as well.
Yes. I was just, the bathroom's always in the shower is always my, like, this beautiful time with the Lord. And he does profound downloads, or he gives revelation. I mean, he does it all the time, but it's a quiet place where there's no distraction. So you can really hear, it's the pause.
It's
we
the
gotta
pause.
talk about your book. So he gave me Psalm 91, and it says, my refuge and my fortress, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust, for he will deliver you. And, I'm speaking this because of what's going on in the world. You have a God that is more, everything's under his feet and his authority, and he is always for you. So who can be against you? And it says, for he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the destruction that waits at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked, because you have made the Lord your dwelling place. The Most High is my refuge. No evil shall be allowed to befall you. No plague come near your tent. For he will command his angels, and he sent me an angel.
Yes, he did.
He will command his angels concerning you and to guard you in all your ways. On their hands, they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the adder, which is a snake, the young lion, the serpent, you will trample underfoot. Because he holds fast to my love, to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. His name is Jesus. Love's name is Jesus. God's name is Jesus. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With a long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. And that's what he did. He gave me, here I'm 62 years old. He saved my life. In all rights, I should have been dead at 10 years old, but he gave me 52 more years, and hopefully, more and more.
But that's another example of we are born with a purpose and a plan.
Yes.
He has a purpose and a plan for each of us.
Yes, he does.
So what the enemy tried to do, God will resurrect his purpose and plan.
Yes, he will. He's amazing. He's for us, so who can be against us? And he says, I know the plans for you, a hope and a future.
That's right.
It says in Jeremiah 29. So
yeah, that's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Joy. I know we'll have some more time in some more interviews, because you have lots of stories and we want to hear about it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for your time today and sharing your story with us. I know that anyone who's hearing this, we will be inspired by your story. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Linda. It's been such an honor to be on your program here. It's such an honor to know you. I absolutely love you. You're just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, we will, Linda. Have a great week.
Yes, you too. God bless you too.
Bye. Bye-bye.